Hello. We are now entering into Unit 3. You've already begun. You've studied the first 4 lessons of Unit 3. So congratulations, you're moving right along. Unit 1, if you remember correctly, dealt with the 60 most common verbs from vivir to dormir, right? And also how to form a simple statement in the present tense, affirmative or negative statement, as well as how to form questions in a couple of different ways. Unit 2, it did a number of things really. In it we rendered our sentences a little more sophisticated by adding modals, can, could, may, might, should, to the sentence. We also learned how to talk about what's going to happen in the near future, or what's happening right at this very moment. We're emphasizing the fact that it's going on right now. That's the present progressive tense that we learned. And of course the general vocabulary theme was one's daily routine, learning to talk about things that we do on a regular basis and at what time we do them. And then, of course, in Unit 2, we also began to do elementary reading. Well, in Unit 3, the general focus is describing, and specifically describing people. You're in lessons 3.1 through 3.4, you were presented with adjectives of physical description, like tall, short, strong, weak, whatever. And you also were presented with emotions, adjectives that describe one's feelings, such as asustado or relajado, interesado. These adjectives that were presented in Unit 3 present us with 3 challenges if we're an English-speaking person. The first is the position of the adjective. In English, adjectives are placed before the noun that they describe. For example, I live in a white house, and white describes the house in which I live. In Spanish you say, vivo en una casa blanca, and blanca comes after the noun it describes. I live in a house white is what it sounds like in Spanish. And so the position of the adjective is something which is a bit of a challenge for us as English-speaking people. And very significantly, the form of the adjective changes based upon what kind of a noun it is describing. You heard me say just a moment ago, una casa blanca. Este es un papel blanco. This is a white piece of paper. Es papel blanco, digamos. It's white paper. Notice that I put the blanco after the word papel, which is consistent with what I just told you, that adjectives follow the noun generally speaking in Spanish. But also notice I said blanco, describing the paper, but I'm talking about that house, I said blanca. And so that's the third great challenge, is learning how to make an adjective adapt to the noun it's describing so that it's in the same form as that noun. Now, what do I mean by it being in the same form? You've learned up to this point that nouns exist in 2 different forms. They are either masculine or feminine. And you know this because when the noun is introduced to you, you hear either el or la preceding the noun. For example, el libro, but la casa, or el apartamento, la casa, or el libro y el carro. Oh, no, that's the same thing. El libro y la mesa, okay? So el indicates that the noun is what we call a masculine noun. Masculine doesn't necessarily mean male or female. We will say el muchacho and la muchacha, so masculine and feminine is consistent with the gender of a person, but in most cases we're talking about things and nouns of some kind, and even nouns are masculine and feminine. That doesn't mean they're male or female, it just means that's a grammatical term describing the 2 categories of nouns that exist. Okay? So if I'm describing a masculine noun, if the adjective ends with O, for example, blanco, I'm going to say el papel blanco, el papel es blanco. Okay? If I'm describing a feminine noun, that O at the end changes to A. Es una casa blanca, vivo en una casa blanca. Es un carro rojo. It's a red car. Notice there's an O at the end of rojo. Es un carro rojo, but es una motocicleta roja. It's a red motorcycle. Es una motocicleta, and I say la motocicleta. It's a feminine noun, and so I say es una motocicleta. I don't say rojo like I did for el carro. I say roja. because it's describing a feminine noun. You join this? It's not easy. Don't you wish they just imitated our approach, which is put the adjective before the noun and everything's good. But no, there's a little bit more of a challenge. This occurs in French too, by the way. Now, that's how to make an adjective masculine or feminine in its form, describing a masculine or feminine noun. There are times when the adjective will not end in an O, and when that's the case, there's nothing to change. For example, feliz, feliz for happy, feliz. El muchacho está. El muchacho. Notice I'm putting a verb in here between muchacho and feliz. I'm saying está. I could just say el muchacho feliz, the happy boy, but I'm trying to give you a whole sentence. But in both cases, the adjective comes after the noun. So el muchacho está feliz. La muchacha está feliz. In both cases, feliz is said in the same way. If the adjective does not end in O, you don't change it to put it in a feminine form. It just is said in the same fashion. Triste is another good example of that. Yo estoy triste. Yo estoy triste. Mi esposa está triste. Okay? Yo, of course, I'm masculine. My wife. I've said that nouns are masculine and feminine, and people as well are going to. The gender of a person is going to be consistent with this idea of masculine and feminine also. So, yo estoy feliz, I'm sorry, es triste, the adjective I'm using. Yo estoy triste. Mi esposa, so she's feminine, está triste. Triste didn't change, okay? So the key is adjectives will change from a masculine form to a feminine form by changing the O at the end to A. All right, like cansado, cansada. If the adjective doesn't end in an O, there's no change to make. Got it? Now, unfortunately, there's one more thing you need to bear in mind. When you're talking about a singular noun or a plural noun, there's another change that has to be made. You're going to add the sound s at the end of the adjective to make it plural if you're describing more than one thing or person. For example, let's go back to the houses and cars and whatever that was. Las casas son, I'll stick with the one that ends in O. Las casas son blancas. Notice I didn't say las casas, which are feminine, son blanca like I did previously. I said blancas because it's las casas. I'm describing more than one. So I add the letter S and I say blancas. Las casas son blancas. Okay, so the adjective will be in the same form as the noun it's describing. Noun is feminine, the adjective is in the feminine form. The noun is singular, the adjective is in the singular form. If the noun's plural, adjective is in the plural form. Okay, and to make it plural, you add s. Let me give you now a masculine example. Let's see. I'll use person this time. Los hombres son mexicanos. Los hombres son mexicanos. Okay, I'm describing more than one man. So it's los hombres son, which is the plural form of the verb ser. I say for Mexican. Mexicanos. I put a s at the end of mexicanos, that adjective describing the men, to make the adjective plural. Now, if I'm talking about some women and say that they are Mexican, I would say las mujeres son mexicanas. Las mujeres son mexicanas. Las mujeres, feminine, and so I use the feminine form of the adjective, which is mexicano, which becomes mexicana, because I'm describing feminine noun, these women. Las mujeres son mexicana, but it's not enough yet. There's more than one of them, and so I have to add the letter s or s at the end of the adjective. Las mujeres son mexicanas. Okay, las mujeres son mexicanas. Got it? If you say, for example, las mujeres son mexicanas, or los hombres son americano, you're confusing people. They don't really know, are you talking about one man or more than one? Are you talking about one woman or more than one? So you've got to be consistent in making the adjective that you're using to describe a person or a thing, you got to put it in the same form. Feminine, masculine, feminine, singular, plural, as the noun it's describing. And that's something you started to probably get a handle on as you studied lessons 3.1 through 3.4. Now I should mention one more thing. We're going to run into that as we look at some of these adjectives in a moment. Let's take feliz again. Los los muchachos. Los muchachos son feliz. Okay, it already ends in the sound. Well, let's put it this way. If the adjective ends in a consonant sound, so maybe I should pick another one instead of feliz. Well, feliz is okay. Ends in a consonant sound, I can't just add a s to the end of where that consonant is located. I can't say, los muchachos son felices. Doesn't sound smooth. And so I add an extra syllable. Los muchachos son felices. I'm going to try and think of an adjective which ends in a. Let's take a look at the ones you know. What's this? I'm looking for one that ends in a consonant. Alto. What's this? The opposite. Bajo. And then you've got. I'm going to stand up and turn sideways. This isn't too hard to represent. Yeah, gordo. Gordo. But the other one's very difficult for me to represent. Can you guess it? What's the opposite of gordo? Delgado. See, delgado. In fact, this is so hard for me to do, some of these, that let's take a look at the screen now and look at the pictures on the screen. Back when I was young enough to almost represent the word thin. All right. ¿Qué es esto? Sí, alto. Aquí. Bajo. Aquí. Gordo. Sí. Aquí. Más o menos. Delgado. Esto. Grande. Sí. Pequeño. Aquí. ¿Qué es esto? Fuerte. Sí, como un toro. ¿Qué es esto? I found the adjective I was looking for. Yeah, that's débil. Débil. All right, now, I was saying to you earlier, and we'll come back to these in a second, the rest of them, but I was saying to you earlier that what do you do if the adjective ends in a consonant sound and you've got to make it plural? Okay? For example, the little children are weak. Los muchachos, los muchachitos son. Now, débil doesn't change whether you're talking about boys or girls because it doesn't end in the sound o. I can't make it feminine. It already is in both forms, you could say, masculine and feminine. But if I'm describing more than one child, los muchachos son, I've got to make it plural. Because if I say los muchachos son débil, you confuse the person listening to you. Are you talking about one child? Here you say there's more than one child. Over here, the adjective débil, you say you're talking about only one. I don't get it. So you've got to be consistent. More than one child, put the adjective in the plural form. Now, how do you make it plural? Well, you add a s. Okay, so if the adjective is débil, do I just say débils? That's really awkward. It's awkward to say débils. And so as I was trying to express earlier, you make the adjective plural if it ends in a consonant sound, like feliz or like débil, by adding an extra syllable, es, the letter e, which is the vowel, followed by s. So instead of débils, which is tough to say, débiles. Instead of feliz, which is also difficult to say, felices. Okay? All right, so let's now go back to, since we already got into it, let's go back to the adjectives of physical description that we've been looking at. We just saw débil. What's this one? Also difficult for me to represent very accurately. Guapo, guapo. ¿Y la mujer? Sí, hermosa. Es muy hermosa. Aquí, oh, qué. Sí, lindo, lindo. ¿Ah? ¿Y esto? Feo, muy bien, feo. Después, don't use that one sparingly unless you're talking about like a bug or something. All right, what's this right here? Yeah, this one I can pretty well represent by this point. Viejo, viejo. ¿Y esto qué es esto? Sí, joven, joven. There's another good example of an adjective which, when made plural, you've got to add an extra syllable. You can't say jóvenes if you're describing more than one person as being young. You have to say jóvenes. Okay, let's quickly go, since we've already gotten well into this. Let's go to the adjectives. Words. I'm sorry, these are adjectives. All of them are adjectives. Adjectives of emotion, describing a person's their feelings. What would this be? Yeah, relajado, relajado. I like that. How about this one right here? Muy bien. Triste. ¿Y esto? Asustado, asustado, ¿verdad? ¿Y esto? ¿Qué es esto? Estamos hablando del béisbol, eso me encanta. Sí. Interesado, interesado. ¿Y esto? ¿Qué es esto? Aburrido, estoy aburrido con esta clase. ¿Y esto qué es esto? Sí, tenso, estoy tenso. ¿Y esto? No sé lo que voy a hacer. Sí, preocupado, preocupado. ¿Y esta emoción qué es? Oh, increíble. Sí, decepcionado. Por ejemplo, mi equipo de béisbol ayer, los Tigres, perdieron contra los Indios de Cleveland. Entonces estoy decepcionado. ¿Y aquí? ¿Qué es esto? Feliz, ¿verdad? ¿Y esto? ¡Jujú! Emocionado. Sí. ¿Y esto qué es esto? ¡Arr! Enojado y por fin... Sí, cansado, cansado. Now, let's take a look at these two groups. Here we, let me scroll back to the beginning of this, the group of the, whoa, there they are, of the adjectives. Now, look at the first group here. These were the groups of words of physical description. Which verb am I going to use when I am giving a description of this nature, talking about a person's physical appearance, okay? Is it going to be ser or estar? Is it going to be yo soy alto or yo estoy alto? Yeah, hopefully you got that. It's yo soy alto. Because ser talks about, describes a person with reference to things that are relatively unchanging. For example, could be their nationality. It could be their belonging to a certain group, political group, religious group, whatever it happens to be. It could be their role in the family. It could be their profession. But things which describe more or less their identity and they don't change from moment to moment. That's going to be ser. So you may say, yo soy alto. In fact, let's try a little exercise here together. Now we're going to use this adjective right here. We're going to describe a girl. How would you say she is short? Ella es, not ella está, ella es. The verb ser, not estar. Estar talks about changeable, fluctuating things such as emotions. So, ella es. Now, the adjective is bajo. Can you say ella es bajo? No. It'd be very confusing to the listener because ella, describing a girl, is feminine. Bajo is masculine. You can't, the person would say, are you talking about a boy or a girl? Who is this person you're talking about? I'm very confused. So ella es baja. Hopefully that's what you said. Let's try this one right here. How would you, in speaking to, let's say you're speaking to an old man like me, how would you say, no, you wouldn't say that. I'll let you say it this time. No, I won't. I want to talk about that adjective more specifically, so we'll come back to this one. How would you say, Mr. Nesbitt, you are not thin? Which is an accurate statement. Señor Nesbitt, usted no, is it no es, no está delgado? Which is it? Yeah, usted no es delgado. Usted no es delgado. Así es, using the verb ser. Do two more of these. Here's grande and pequeño. Grande and pequeño. Let's try a plural one now. Let's say the boys are big. The boys are big. I'm waiting for you to answer. Yeah, los muchachos son, now, the word for big is grande. I don't have to make it feminine because boys are not feminine. And besides that, grande is the same adjective form for both masculine or feminine. So grande is fine. Is that good enough? Can I just say los muchachos son grande? No. I have to say los muchachos son grandes, right? Because we're describing more than one boy. Good job. Try this one now. The baby is little. Okay, el bebé is always el bebé, whether it's a boy or a girl. It's el bebé, so it's a masculine noun. The baby is little. Sí, el bebé es pequeño. El bebé es pequeño. How would you say the babies, more than one of them, are little? Okay, los bebés son pequeños. Los bebés son pequeños. Let's make it about a feminine noun. Let's say the women are little. Now let's try a thing instead of a person. Let's see. The houses. Why not? The houses are small. How would you say the houses are small? Las casas. Now casa is a feminine noun, so son we're going to put pequeño in the feminine form. It becomes pequeña. And we're talking about more than one house, so right, pequeñas. Las casas son pequeñas. Okay, so now, let me go back. I said there was one particular adjective I want to talk about. This one right here, about which I'm particularly sensitive. The verb gordo, you would think, this is the one, I said verb, the adjective gordo, this is the one adjective in this grouping here which really can be preceded by the verb estar. Ser describes if a person is being overweight is just the natural state of their physiognomy throughout the course of their whole life. You would use ser. But in most cases, we use estar to describe the person's being overweight, because that's something which can change. In my case, for example, I'm optimistic. By the end of the summer, working out in the garden, I hope I will not estar gordo, but rather estaré más o menos gordo, a lo menos. Yo estaré menos gordo. So ser is going to be used with gordo, describing a permanent condition of a person's life. Estar is used when you're talking about temporarily they're overweight, but that could change. Okay, so in any case, that's the group of the physical description adjectives. Let's now go to the ones that deal with emotion, feelings. And what is the verb we use here? Is it ser or is it estar with these adjectives? Right, it's estar. It's estar because we're talking about things that fluctuate, that change from moment to moment. So let's take the first one right here. How would you say we, talking about you and I, we are relaxed. We know each other. This is a good time together, so we're relaxed. There's no tension. I'm not giving you a test. How would you say we are relaxed? Sí, nosotros estamos, not somos, but estamos. Somos would be describing our identity. There's not a whole lot we probably share in common. Nosotros somos... There's a storm outside. Otherwise, it's very nice weather in Michigan. Nosotros somos seres humanos. We're human beings, okay? But other than that, there's not a lot we can say about ourselves. So let's use this, which describes your identity as being in common. So nosotros, we use estamos, talking about fluctuating conditions, feelings, for example. Nosotros estamos finish it off. Yeah, relajados. Okay, we know that we use the masculine form because I'm a man, and so whether I'm being watched by 36 girls right now who are participating in this, watching this video and participating in this class right now, and myself, as long as there's one male involved in the group, you use the masculine form of the adjective. So nosotros estamos relajado, and then in the plural because there's more than one of us. Nosotros estamos relajados. Let's try the next one right here. Here we have the verb triste. And let's have you describe the teacher. Let's make it more than one teacher. The teachers are sad because, why would they be sad? Why would teachers be sad? Because they have to meet remotely with their beloved students. So the teachers are sad. Let's assume that they're all, that it's a combination of male and female teachers. Hit it. Okay, los profesores. If we're all female teachers, it would be las profesoras. Okay, so los profesores, is it son or están? It's están, right? Because we're talking about emotions, things that change. Los profesores están. How do you make triste feminine? You don't. Besides, I said it was a mixture of male and female. But even if you want to make it feminine, you don't, because triste doesn't end in the letter O, and therefore it stays in the same form, whether you're describing a male or a female. Los profesores están triste, make it plural, right? Yeah, tristes, because you're talking about more than one teacher. All right, so that's the focus of lessons 3.1 through 3.4. Let's do an exercise together. Here you've got to make the choice. Well, it's really the same thing we've been doing, but now just a more direct way to get to the same goal. Is you're going to try and make the adjective agree in whether it's male and female, that's called gender, or in number, which is singular or plural. And you're also going to try and choose the right verb. That's why this picture here has two different options here: ser and estar. You have to choose which of the verbs you want to use, ser or estar. Okay, express this first idea. I won't even tell you what it means in English. It's up to you to form the statement. Go ahead. Ellas están relajada, put a at the end to make it feminine, and then relajadas, because there's more than one girl about whom we're speaking. Ellas están relajadas. Número 2. ¿Cómo se dice esto? Okay, here we're talking about a physical description, aren't we? A person's physical appearance, which relatively, more or less doesn't change, at least not from moment to moment. And so, tú eres, not tú estás, tú eres guapo. Tú eres guapo. Gracias. Número 3. ¿Cómo se puede decir esto? Diga. Ella, now we're talking about her physical description, so it's going to be ser, not estar. So ella es alto, alta, which is it? Alto, alta, altos, altas, which one? Sí, ella es alta. You wouldn't say altas, because at that point you'd be describing more than one girl, and you wouldn't use alto, because that would be describing a boy. All right, let's try number 4 here. ¿Cómo se puede decir esto? Again, we're using relajado, so tú estás. We're talking about feelings, so that's going to use estar. Tú estás relajado. Now, in the Ulat, when you see, I use the subject tú, I'm almost making an assumption of some kind, but you have to make an assumption as to whom I'm speaking. And so, generally speaking, I use the masculine form of the adjective, and I say, tú estás relajado. But, what if I were speaking to a girl? I would not say, tú estás relajado. What would I say? Yeah, tú estás relajada. So many times in the you'll hear a statement like a grammatical exercise where I say, tú estás relajado. But know that it could just as easily be, tú estás relajada. It would all depend upon to whom I'm speaking, a boy or to a girl. Okay, let's try a couple more here. How would you say, talking to these two girls, that they're cute? Yeah. Sí, ellas, do you use estar or ser for physical description? Yeah. Ellas son make it feminine. Linda, make it plural, lindas. Ellas son lindas, son muy lindas. Número 6, you guys are little. You guys are little. How would you say that? This is a good one for us to end on because, again, it shows that there are some options here. Ustedes, now describing physically, so use ser. Ustedes son, now, it's pequeño, make it plural, pequeños. But, when I say ustedes, am I speaking to males or females? You don't really know. It's just a grammatical exercise, and I'm saying y'all. You don't know if I'm talking to boys or girls. And so the fact of the matter is there are two different ways which this could be said. If I'm speaking to all guys, I'd say, ustedes son pequeños. I don't know why I'd ever say that to them. It's kind of like rubbing it in. You guys are little. But ustedes son pequeños. If I'm talking to guys and girls, a mixed group, what would I say? Ustedes son. See, ustedes son pequeños also. You use the masculine form of the adjective when you're describing a mixed group of males and females. Okay? If I'm talking to all girls, how would I say this statement? Ustedes son pequeñas. Así es. Okay. I want to bring this to a conclusion. Let me go back to, I'll go back to the first group of adjectives here, the physical description ones. Let me just describe myself. The reason I'm doing this is I want you, when this video finishes, to turn to your dog or to your mother or to your father or whoever is willing to listen to you and describe yourself to that person. And so I'll start with myself. Yo soy americano, eso es la primera cosa. Soy hombre, soy un hombre, soy papá de una familia numerosa. ¿Qué más soy? Soy profesor de lenguas, inglés, español, francés también. Soy creyente en Jesucristo, cristiano. ¿Qué más soy? Soy esposo, eso es muy importante, soy esposo. ¿Qué más? Ahorita físicamente, soy alto, estoy gordo, pero espero que eso cambie antes del final del verano. Soy más o menos fuerte, no soy débil, a lo menos. Pero soy viejo, eso es cierto. Ya tengo 67 años, entonces soy viejo. ¿Qué más soy? Y bueno, basta con lo que... sí. Y tengo, esas son otras cosas que describen mi apariencia física, pero no usan el verbo ser. Yo tengo pelo gris o cañoso, tengo pelo gris, tengo pelo ondulado. This is introduced in lesson 3.1 also, describing your hair, whether it's straight, wavy, or curly. Tengo pelo, entonces, cuando el pelo es muy largo, es casi rizado. Pero actualmente mi pelo es corto, entonces tengo pelo ondulado y gris, como dije. Tengo ojos azules. Now, azul is the word for blue. You've learned that in lesson 3.6 or 7. Colors are introduced when you're describing a person's clothing as well. But azul is the adjective for blue. If I said, tengo ojos azul, that would mean I'm a cyclops, right? Because I'm saying in the singular, azul is describing my eye. No, I've had to say azules to describe the fact that I have more than one eye. So, tengo ojos azules. ¿Y qué más puedo decir? Eso basta con mi apariencia física. Ahorita, en cuanto a mis emociones, now we're going to change and I'll talk about my emotions. Bueno, actualmente estoy bien, estoy feliz, estoy relajado, me gusta hablar con ustedes, estoy relajado, estoy feliz. No estoy muy cansado porque no he comenzado a trabajar físicamente afuera. Pero let me give you some situations in which I feel different emotions, okay? Estoy relajado cuando estoy con ustedes. Estoy triste cuando mi esposa está triste. Estoy asustado cuando ¿qué? Actualmente, cuando oigo, veo relámpagos y oigo el trueno afuera. Estoy asustado. Estoy interesado cuando hablo de béisbol con un amigo. Estoy aburrido cuando debo hacer la contabilidad para mi empresa. Estoy tenso cuando no tengo dinero y que debo pagar un recibo, una factura. Estoy decepcionado cuando los Tigres pierden un partido. Estoy feliz cuando los Leones, casi imposible, ganan un partido de fútbol americano. Estoy emocionado cuando... A mi edad, a los 67 años, casi nunca estoy emocionado. No puedo pensar en nada que me emociona actualmente. Estoy enojado cuando... ¿qué pasa? Es raro hoy en día que yo esté enojado. Entonces, estoy enojado cuando mi gato quiere salir durante la noche que estoy durmiendo y el gato me dice miau a las 2 de la mañana que tengo que dejar salir el gato. Y por fin estoy cansado actualmente porque acabo de hacer un video muy largo, acabo de trabajar muy duro enseñándoles a ustedes, entonces estoy cansado actualmente. Now, what I want you to do is essentially the same thing I just did. Describe yourself physically, maybe the roles you play in the world, like a student, your nationality, whatever happens to be. Describe to the person with whom you're going to speak in a moment your roles in the family, like you're a son, you're a brother, that kind of thing. And then describe your physical appearance and be charitable with yourself, and then as I am with myself, and then describe your feelings, but your feelings right now, but also describe how you feel in certain situations, like when do you feel angry, when do you feel sad, etc. Okay? Bueno. Muchas gracias por su participación. Nosotros nos veremos en un par de semanas. Entonces, hasta la próxima vez. Adiós.